Yo guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with another video, and I've got a super helpful one if you are playing over on Ark Survival Ascended the island. Now, a lot of people are having a lot of trouble with just basic resource collection and a lot of different things, right? There is one kind of secret, and you can kind of see the little green mark in the water down there that you can use in order to get an insane amount of resources stupid fast, right? You just need to get yourself access to a scuba tank, and pretty much the wait is over for resources. Just so you can see what I'm talking about, this is the DUNKLEOSTEUS. Now, the DUNKLEOSTEUS, if you've never used it before, is a ridiculously awesome creature. You can see all that right there, right? I'm going to go ahead and drop it all so you can see what I mean. Basically, anything that is a resource in this water, the DUNKLEOSTEUS can actually access and eat. Now, you can see that anything that's coral, that's what he's going to be able to gather. And he will gather oil, stone, metal, all kinds of loot. And up on the surface is where you're going to find your biggest access to oil. But if you go further down in the water, you'll be able to access a ton of metal and things along those lines. Now, you can just stay on the surface and still get a bunch of metal, but the best way to do it is just to go to the bottom of the ocean or a deep section of the ocean, and you're just going to look for some rocks. And once you start swinging away, you can see that this guy harvests a significant portion of metal from any of the rocks. Now, this is on the solo player settings with no boosts, no anything on official difficulty. And you can just sit down here and get an insane amount, right? And these are just from your generic rocks. And he also has a reduced weight on him as well. So this thing can get a ridiculous amount of resources and carry them around. Now, here's why it's super broken, right? Not broken. It should be used, and it should be used appropriately. But at the same time, it's something that is awesome to use. Because of the fact that this thing is underneath the ocean, you're not really ever going to run into anybody that's going to have a intent or ability really to do anything about it. Because so many people don't use the ocean or move around in the ocean at all, or even care about a single guy on a DUNKLEOSTEUS in the ocean. You can pretty much do anything across the board. All right, so we have been going for less than 2.5 minutes, by the way, and just so you can see, I'm just going to keep biting because that's the goal here. We're just going to go for some resources, and anytime you hit that coral, you're going to get just a very lovely amount of resources, right? And I'm just going to go ahead and show you what I mean. So we haven't been even doing a run on 1x for less than 3 minutes. We've got a couple thousand stone, we've got 25 oil, some metal. And he carries, I mean, you can see half weight for metal. That's huge. That's a big, big value. And because you don't have to wait for these rocks to respawn, you can just do a giant run across the entire bottom of the ocean, and you'll get an absolutely bonkers amount of resources with this thing. Now, you can kind of zoom to the circles with loot as well, because there's the underwater sea caves, and you can kind of take a good donkey and it can compete literally just about anything it'll go up against. And as long as it's a rock that can be harvested, you will be able to use this DUNKLEOSTEUS in order to get the resources from it. So some of these things are a little tricky because they look like they might be harvestable, but they're not actually. But every single rock in the ocean has some form of metal attached to it. So you can get a ton of resources, as you can see right now. I found another patch, right? There's 42 metal, and on 1x, so if you're playing on a server with multiplication or anything else where it can be very difficult to get a hold of metal because people are always, you know, swinging for the fences for metal, you can just swim around with this guy and get an absolute load of metal, right? I think I just accidentally found a little entrance point. Yeah, it's just a little mini area down there, but yeah, it's a super useful technique. Now, if you go closer to the surface, by the way, which you can do, not a problem, you can easily go closer to the surface, you can see that he can harvest all of the actual, like, I don't know what to call them, but I'm just going to refer to them as the little mushroom-looking things on the walls. Anything that is coral, he can also gather, which means that he's just going to be able to gather a ridiculous amount of resources. So there's 300, almost 450 metal, and we haven't even been on a metal run for, what, 4 minutes? Not even. And then again, you get so much stone, so you can just turn that into flint, gunpowder, spark powder really easily. And because of that high ability to carry things, this thing is very, very useful, right? And you can also, if you have an underwater base, if you get that tech pretty quickly, you can use this guy and never actually have to go to the surface. to get all those resources that you need desperately, right? So it really is a super awesome little feature, and I'm just trying to do like give or take 5 minutes just so you can see. And it's not even like a good run right now. I'm kind of just biting and talking and not really focusing on actually doing what I should be and gathering the maximum resources. But I mean, it's almost 600 raw metal on 1x, where on official servers you're not going to be able to harvest any of that because everyone's trying to get the same metal area. Nobody is going to the bottom of the ocean. And the benefit at the bottom of the ocean, you just swim in a circle. And if you did this for a few hours, you could easily slot cap yourself. I mean, obviously you're going to have to offload the weight, but it's the best way to get metal on the island, and it's not even really particularly close either, not at least until gachas exist and stuff like that. This is by far the best way to go ahead and get access to a stupid amount of metal. So hopefully this is something that helps you out, and hopefully you start using the DUNKLEOSTEUS, because he is an absolutely broken monster. As you can see, I'm just swimming along the bottom of this little crater down here, and we're already up to what, almost 900 now? Yeah, I'm just going to stop counting, but you see the point. He gathers things so efficiently that people kind of forgot about him because he was introduced so early, and everyone was like, what's the even value? Because they're so deep in the ocean. They can harvest, and they can harvest very, very well. So anyways, hopefully this video helps you out, and other than that, Teach out.